What's up, YouTubers? So this weekend we went and ran rallycross. It was yesterday, actually. I'm just getting to the intro video now, but out in Watkins Glen, New York. The Glen was nice enough to give the SCCA a field to use for rallycross. It's an hour and a half from here, but it was definitely worth it. So we took the rally car down there and had an absolute blast. There was like, I think 20 plus drivers there, something like that. Nice big course, over 60 seconds. My fast time was 64.7, I think, something like that. But it was good enough for second place, our first time out, so that was pretty good. My brother-in-law's time was like, his lowest time I think was like a 74 or something like that. But he's new. He's new to racing in general and driving a standard even, so that's not too bad. So I'm going to show you the video now of the GoPro of my fast run, the one that was fast enough to get second place. There's really not a whole lot going on in the garage today. I got to put brakes on the Avalanche, which shouldn't be too bad because it is a Southern truck, but that's nothing fun that you guys probably want to see. But luckily I have a lift, so it won't be too bad. We can talk about my lift quick if you want. That's a direct lift, 9,000 pounds. The nice part is I don't have really tall ceilings, so it only goes up 9.5 feet. So I put scissor trusses in when I had the building built, so it's like 12 feet or something like that in the middle, which works out perfectly for this. I can't pick my truck up all the way because there's not enough height, but the Monte Carlo Camaros, I can pick them up all the way and not touch the ceiling, go all the way up to the stops, and it's no big deal. This one, the cables and hydraulic lines run across the floor with a ramp, which if you need to roll around on a dolly or a stool is a little inconvenient, but with my garage setup, it works out perfectly. And I mean, a Chevy Avalanche like this one's fully loaded. It's like 6,000 pounds, like 58 or 59, and then with me in it, it's over 6,000 pounds. So I mean, that's a big truck, you know. The nice part about direct lift is it's cheap. I don't want to say cheap. It's well built, or I wouldn't be picking up a truck and climbing underneath it. 9,000 pound lift, $2,000. I think with tax and everything, it was like 2,200 or something like that. Loomis Root sells direct lift, and there's one right here in Buffalo. I say here in Buffalo, that's an hour away. But I was able to go down there and pick it up with a trailer, and I have to pay delivery fees. So, yeah, I put it in myself, which isn't a huge deal if you know a little bit about that kind of stuff. You have to have at least like 4.5 inches of concrete in order to safely run one of these lifts. But for $2,000, brand new direct lift, and I should have bought it like 4 years ago because it's so much better than climbing around underneath cars on the ground with jack stands. It makes everything so much easier and so much faster. Not fast enough because the Camaro's not done and I haven't touched it in like a month. But, well, not a month. We worked on wiring the other day. But anyways, here's the GoPro video. Okay, so for those of you who do care about me doing a great job on the Avalanche, I'll just give you a couple of tips here quick. Like I said, my Avalanche is from North Carolina, so it's pretty rust-free, as you can see. Everything comes apart pretty easily. You can see here after one winter, there's quite a bit of scale on these rotors. So if you get down close so you can actually see how much is there. I mean, there's pretty good scale there. The trick to this, for those guys who live up here in the rusty area up in New York, this rotor's still good. You see it's not all grooved and beat up. Either side of it is. And they're not warped or anything. These rotors are still good. But that little lip can give you some trouble. So here's the trick. Take your ball peen hammer and just lightly tap the edge of it. And as you can see, it pretty much flaked off. There's still a little lip there. If you had a grinder with a flap wheel or something, you could just touch that lip off. Try to stay off of this. But you can touch this edge off and put this rotor back on. The same thing with this inside here. See, it chips right off with the hammer. You don't want to beat this surface all up, but you can take this down and get some of that off there. Like I said, if you had a flap wheel on your grinder, touch that off and get it back down smooth to the surface. And then these are good to go. You're not going to worry about that. The next big thing, at least with Chevy pickups, is the slide pins. You absolutely have to pull these out and grease them up. Different styles of trucks, of Chevy trucks, the pins are a little bit different, but it's the same basic design on all the Chevy pickup trucks. This pin comes out of this little rubber boot here, holds the caliper on. You got to make sure your boots aren't ripped, and you have to grease the crap out of these when you put them back together. At least up here in the Northeast, these trucks are known for the caliper sticking. Not Avalanches in particular, but the whole line of Chevy pickup trucks. New, old, it doesn't matter. The rust and corrosion gets in there, and they start to get stuck, and it's that pin. It starts to not let the caliper move back and forth properly, which is what I think I had happen back here on this right rear. The inside wore pretty good. This caliper I'm going to replace because it's pretty bad. And the inside's worse because that's where the caliper held up. But we're going to replace this one. The rest of them I'm just going to dress them up. And because that one there I think rivets touched. We're going to put it back together. Most importantly, grease those pins. Grease the crap out of them before you put them back together. And never seize on all the bolts. Well, not those. Those are going to grease all of them. But the bolts that hold that bracket on, you can see one of them sitting there in the middle of it. You got to never seize that stuff. Or when next time you go to do it, you'll be fighting it. At least here in the Northeast where we have rust. Sometimes I like to put some never seize in here too, just to keep the rotor from sticking to that. But it's steel on steel. Usually you can beat the crap out of it and get it off if you have to. Alright. Keep it creative. Happy building. Just one more thing I wanted to point out quick. The pads that I took off the car had a really prominent pin in the center of it. You can see it sticking out there. It made it kind of hard to get the caliper off. I actually had to drive a screwdriver in there. You can see here where I drove the screwdriver down between the rotor and the pad to push it, to kind of push the pucks back in and take some pressure off so that I could get that stupid pin, past the puck of the caliper, piston, whatever you want to call it, to get the caliper off. So if you've got everything unbolted and that caliper doesn't want to come off, that is probably your culprit. The new ones have it, but it's not quite as prominent as it is on whatever brand those are. These are Wherever CarQuest pads. And the pin's nowhere near as prominent as it is on those. Those ones stick out quite a bit, and it really caused an issue getting the calipers off. But so if you run into that problem, that's what's holding you up right there. So you could either push the piston back like I did, or you could unbolt that bracket and take it all off as one unit, and then it should come apart. Good luck. Alright, so one more thing that I forgot to mention here. It doesn't matter if I buy the best pads or the worst pads. You end up having to mess with these to get them to slide freely in here. You got these stainless clips here. Sorry. And this groove goes over that clip, and it needs to slide freely on there. It doesn't matter. Every single brand, quality pad I bought, I've had to open this up with a file or something. Actually grind this surface here, and then take a rat tail file or something and open up this surface here a little bit. You know, at least just take the paint off or whatever. I can get this in there right now, but it's like ridiculously tight. Like I have to force it in there, and that's not right. So yeah, unfortunately, every single time I've had to grind it or take a file to it, file this surface down, this surface, you know, same thing on the other side. Just take the black off and see if that's enough. Otherwise, you might have to take a little bit of material off. But these should, I mean, they shouldn't be flopping around in there, but they should slide freely. Brake jobs are fun. Alright, so in conclusion here, I was right. The back pad on the right rear was all the way down to rivets. It was gone. Gone, no pad. And it left a pretty good groove in this rotor, so it's a good thing I got one of those sitting over at Advance for me to go pick up. And luckily I have to go back to Advance because we have another problem as well. The front caliper on the driver's side has a stuck piston right there. As you can see, this one went back in. This one's still out. Doesn't want to go back in. And that's the shit you deal with when you're doing general maintenance on a vehicle. And I mean, even with only 1 year of winters on this, the rust is already wreaking havoc and corrosion in lovely New York. This back one here, this is actually funny because your e-brake is inside your back rotor, if you didn't know that. And after looking at the backing plate and stuff, there was no opening to adjust. There's your adjuster. To adjust the e-brake. So I figured, you know, you'd be able to adjust the e-brake in and get it off. So I did what you do. I went on YouTube. And I was like, dude, how do you get this thing off? And now that I'm looking at it, it looks like where the e-brake cable goes in back here. No, you can't see it. But you can actually stick something through there probably and adjust it. Maybe, I don't know. It looks to be about in that general area. Maybe right through here. Yeah. But none of the videos I watched showed me. All the videos I watched 3 of them. The guy literally, like, on one, he just grabbed it and pulled it off. The other one, they hit it with a rubber mallet a few times around the outside. The rotor, that is. And it came right off. And I think the third video, the guy just pulled it off. I had to beat the crap out of it with my hammer. Like, literally, it took 10 minutes of me beating the shit out of it to get it off. And I mean, part of that's because of the rust that gets built up in there. You know, it doesn't let you, and there's a lip there that grew from rust. And it won't let that thing release because that's what we get living in New York with the salt and shit. So, down south, you guys get to just pull it right off or tab it with a mallet. Up here, you beat the crap out of it. Or, if I'm right about that rubber thing back there, maybe you can stick a screwdriver through there and adjust this adjuster right here. If you can spin that wheel and adjust these in, you can get it off. It feels like that hole might go all the way through, but you can't tell looking at the back of it because that's right where the e-brake cable comes in. Anyways, all kinds of fun. I gotta go to Advance and get some parts.